In the 16th century, Japan was enduring constant war. Landowning warriors, the samurai, were usually kept in line by their master, known as the shogun. But in this era, the shogun was ignored, and lords decided to rule their own fiefs as they liked. This included, in most cases, fighting their neighbors in constant bloody disputes. In the midst of all this, two men became very strange allies. This is the story of Oda Nobunaga and Nobunaga Hisehide, two warlords whose absolute defiance of authority set them on a collision course, only to become carefully intertwined. Hisehide rose to infamy by being the warlord who went beyond ignoring the shogun. He had the shogun killed and the central palaces burned to the ground, along with most of the capital city, Kyoto. Marked out as the most callous and unprincipled of all the warlords, Hisehide delighted in the fear he struck into the highest halls of the Japanese elite. He seemed to seek no other reward for this deed, in fact. Nobunaga's rise followed in turn, as the remnants of the shogun's family sought a man willing to stake everything on a military expedition to defeat Hisehide and restore the old order. The young patriarch of the Oda clan, Nobunaga, seized the opportunity, seeing it for what it was, a way to become shogun himself in all but name. The so-called shogun rode behind him for all to see while he marched from his homeland of Owari to the heart of Japan, Kinai, battling all the landowner generals who did not cooperate along the way. At Kyoto, Nobunaga Hisehide's army was soundly defeated by this expedition, marking the symbolic restoration of the shogunate. Yet Nobunaga was not concerned with the associated pomp and went quickly to the prisons where Hisehide was chained up in defeat. The guards were dismissed, and Nobunaga took Hisehide outside to a modest courtyard. A low table held a selection of fine teaware, and a small pot bubbled over a fire close by. The warlords sat on either side of the table. "Could it be that you seek to mock me in my final moments, my lord?" Hisehide said. "Your final moments? Ah, you are afraid of the shogun," Nobunaga nodded. "Yes, he has men looking for you, although they left for Yamato this morning. They seem to believe you fled. It's like they have no understanding of the man they are hunting." Hisehide scowled. "Or the man they should be hunting." Nobunaga gave no reply, and silently prepared tea for the both of them. Once it was ready, he said, "I heard that you were a true demon among men. They say you killed your own master at my age, that you killed the shogun, of course, and that you burned temples and shrines to the ground if it pleases you. It would be no surprise if I handed you over to the new shogun to complete my duty." There was another silence, in which Hisehide's face morphed from one of apprehension to a rising smirk. "But you did not come here to complete any duty," he said. "That's correct," Nobunaga nodded. "Masters, shoguns, priests, my new world defies them. For this purpose I seek retainers of demonstrated ability. Who else has struck so high and so well as you, Lord Nobunaga? You want me to serve you, and I shall have it. Ha! So this is the man they call the Fool of Owari. If you'd like a traitor in your midst, I shall obey. But you should know that my ambition is to do nothing less than everything I please, and be free of the world's binds. If I was to leave, or if you were to displease me, I would not hesitate to kill my way out, through elder and babe alike. I say this with utter conviction, so dare not doubt it. Then you are the only one who understands what it means to remake the world." Hisehide could not help but laugh at the seriousness with which Nobunaga said these words. "I could not care less if the age of the shogun or samurai ends or is renewed. Only heaven dictates what I cannot do. Let us both work together and change this world as we please, my lord," he said. Hisehide had taken those words from Nobunaga to be the youthful delusion of a lord poorly fettered by his retainers. But it was not so. Nobunaga conquered, killed, and destroyed without second thought, bringing Kinai to its knees. Those who resisted were burned alive to set an example, and by such means a form of order began to return to every town and village he passed through. During this time, Hisehide was content to stay in the ruined capital and hear of the nation's many wars from afar. It was there he eventually met the new shogun, Ashikaga Yoshiaki. Yoshiaki owed his rank and his life to Nobunaga, but was well aware of the warlord's ultimate ambition. Oda retainers already determined law and enjoyed the dependency of the common people, and Nobunaga himself spilled blood like no shogun had ever dared. The massacre of civilians was routine, the immolation of sacred sites unpunished, and the ways of the samurai elite muddied and crushed. If the shogunate was to survive the age of war, it was to be in the debt of a more upstanding warlord, wading through history, not sailing over it. Yoshiaki conspired with Nobunaga's rivals around the country, but he also sought to strike from within. He hired Hisehide, the most proven killer of the capital districts. Hisehide had killed Yoshiaki's own brother, but this only proved that Hisehide was a man unbound by duty. Fortunately, Hisehide also found Nobunaga tiresome and overly self-important, and had been considering assassinating him already. A deal was quickly made. First, Hisehide travelled to his personal estate at Shigasen Castle, just south of the capital, and stripped away the Oda clan regalia. Then he publicly declared his intention to overthrow Nobunaga. Hisehide predicted that the man himself would come to see the matter resolved, at which time soldiers would ambush the approaching column and settle the score. It did not play out this way in the weeks to follow. News came that Nobunaga was approaching. Hisehide went with his troops to lay in ambush, but as he approached the site, troops appeared from all around him with Oda banners. After an hour of fighting, it was clear he was beaten, so Hisehide surrendered. Of course, Nobunaga had seen through the entire scheme, yet those soldiers had been ordered to bring Hisehide in alive. The traitor was clamped up in a wooden brace, then taken for a long march east. Since the fires of Hisehide's campaign had claimed Nijo Palace, there had been no place as opulent as the towering citadel at Gifu. Built on the ruins of Inuyama Fortress, it was a beacon overlooking the fertile plains of Mino. The Mino Owari Basin was rich in rice and cereals, attracting legions of craftsmen ready to work for their supper. Since the coming of Nobunaga, that work had been concentrated on the citadel at Gifu. Hisehide was led through gates and courtyards, turning round and round the summit Gifu crowned. The hands and travellers sharing the road scattered at a glance. At last they came to a 4-story keep in the highest nook of the complex. It was Nobunaga's palace, and was decorated perhaps not as finely as Nijo had been, but certainly by craftsmen of rare talent and rarer taste. Everything about the building spoke of the new. Its roofing was tightly cropped to the walls. The firing ports of the interconnected bastions were plastered with clay, protection against the muzzle fire of Tanegashima muskets. Most striking of all was the carving on the main door, picturing the world of the barbarians. 3 men were painting this map, and this was quite necessary, as the shapes of the sea and land of those far-off places were too unfamiliar to be distinguished. Most found the sight of them unsettling. Now Hisehide was taken up many sets of zigzagging stairs to reach the highest chamber, where the screen doors were wide open and a summer breeze wafted in. The mountains encapsulating Mino were shimmering on the horizon. In the center of the room sat Nobunaga. His appearance was quite different to how Hisehide remembered him. At first glance, one might not have even presumed that he was a samurai. He wore dark robes with a touch of red and lining deeply purple, pushed into an awkward shape by the dull steel breastplate clamped around his torso. It was a barbarian piece, protruding at the heart and wrapping under the arms with no signs of joins. It was entirely smooth, but for a large dent over the stomach. It had stopped a musket ball, and the dent remained as proud claim of perfection in armoring. "You look like I should fill you with water and set you to boil," Hisehide said. "I've many a fine teapot that would envy you, my lord." "And I, Hisehide, am awash with retainers that envy you," Nobunaga replied. "They ask me what it means to let a monster live while heroes die. I wonder, what is your answer?" "I would ask why they spare their 50 years to be used at the disposal of others. If they have an answer, they should act. If they do not, then I pity them greatly. Useless people mistake the fingers gripping their body for a winter coat. What say I have them all killed, but spare you?" "That is a freedom you do not have, my lord. If you killed all the useless people in the land, who would be left? If there would be any but us two, they would have blades at our throats in an instant. Even if we lived, it would be no fun afterwards." "You would prefer to kill me, then?" "Living beneath a man like you brings me to the boil, my lord. You wield power like a newborn babe. I bet even the people of your realm would celebrate your death. The smoldering spirits of those you slew call for your death. But I don't need a silly reason like that. I would just prefer the world without your smug proclamations and envious warring." "It's as simple as that, eh? Well, then you should know that I plan to war and rule until my final bone is taken by the wind. My enterprise will live on even if I fall, in the men who believe in a future they build for themselves. Could that be why you do not fear death? So much so that you would invite me into your chamber, knowing what I plan to do?" "Oh, I fear death plenty, for everything I have done will see my spirit torn to shreds. But I don't fear you." "True, you should kill me. Only then can you cement your legacy and have people for all time say that you lived as you pleased, free of the world. But we both know that's not what you will do. We both know why you could never kill me. For you to be free, I must be free. To defy the wills of others freely is a power you cannot understand for all your talk. Because while you break the law and call it freedom, my actions become the law. When you defied the shogun, it was by my mercy that you lived. Now that I defy him, it is my own power that sustains me, sustains all of us. If I were to die, what hope would there be for a man like you? In an age of chaos or order, you will be hunted. Only while demons rule are you safe. You know this well, so as long as you might rage and spit, you cannot and will not kill me. For that reason I could prostrate myself below your sword as calmly as I lie to sleep." "Oh, is that so? Yet for all that talk, it is I who is brought here before you, bound and unarmed, subject to a demon's mercy. I wonder who truly can keep their convictions. To be calm before death is the mark of a samurai. I would have thought you'd throw it off, seeing as only heaven dictates what you cannot do. If I was entertaining the possibility of death today, I think I would complain and curse so loudly that the underworld would claim me before your sword was drawn, my lord. But we both know that's not what you will do. We both know why you could never kill me. How could the great and mighty Nobunaga be so threatened by an old man that he has to take his head to sleep soundly? All the unruly lords of your bubbling domain look to this chamber and wait to see how weak you really are. Only if I live will it prove that you have no fear of rebels, and only this facade will reflect your true fear into the hearts of the rebels themselves. If I walk free, it proves that you cannot be killed by traitors, even those as renowned as Nobunaga and Hisehide. So many will bow to you for this. You would not be just a shogun, but a man achieving the essence of the divine. So, you must let me live. In fact, You had best ensure that I live a comfortable life and can do what I please. For think how easy it would be for me to take my own head and pin the blame on you. Those prudish samurai would never believe that I would waste my sacred death on such a jab, so it would not fail to convince them. Yes, I shall be like the rarest of exotic beasts, most difficult to keep alive, and most profitable should it be achieved. Considering all this, why should I complain that you aim to take my life? I'll eat your finest food in defeat, just as I would have in victory. For only heaven dictates what I cannot do. Incredible. I saw that wisdom when you first poured your cup at Nijo. While I seek to conquer this realm, it's as if you have done so already. I can do nothing but admit the plain truth. Our ambitions, to be free of the world and to reshape it, cannot exist apart. How human of us to only realize our dreams in tandem. One would think we're hardly demons at all. It is, my lord, like tea. The culmination of the art must be witnessed, and the aftermath consumed with pure hands. It is only possible with another, even if they are your treacherous shadow. And here I thought your obsession a mere dalliance. You understood your destiny from the very beginning. In this way, Matsunaga Hisehide and Oda Nobunaga both walked from the palace at Gifu unpunished for their crimes. Nobunaga went on to defeat the shogun's allies, while Hisehide enjoyed pride of place in the Oda clan. Their ambitions saw the end of tens of thousands of lives, but never of each other's. Such was the pact between demons that spurred the age of war on for generations to come.